Joining me with his analysis on what's playing itself out on the market scene is Shaun Dendere from Trive Investments. Thank you so much for your time, Shaun. I feel like there's a lot of good news happening right now in the markets, and we are seeing that filtering through to the trading that happened today. What stood out for you in terms of what is buoying markets today?
I think the most interesting thing for me was the message coming out of the ECB. As we all know, they cut their interest rates today, but they've outright said, they are going into, I think, a downward cycle from an interest rate perspective. They finally got a hold of, inflation. So that's going to be interesting to see from, a Eurozone perspective, looking at the rest of the Euro countries, so that being England, Switzerland, etc. That's been the highlight of the day for me personally. And if we're looking back at the markets, we're also in the US, we got strong US retail numbers. It's positive from a consumer perspective. It's also driven by lower fuel oil prices that side, but it makes it quite an interesting scenario for the Fed, because from the Federal Reserve perspective, the US economy, as much as they are fighting inflation, they are of the view that it is moving a little bit faster than they would like at this stage.
Shaun, also what's quite interesting is the comeback of the chip makers, because we have seen NVIDIA reaching an all-time high again, and I think it was quite shaky there, because after the ASML results, it seemed that things were kind of starting to look a little bit gloomy, but then TSMC came out with its numbers. So would you say that things are not worrying at the moment for the chip makers?
I don't necessarily believe that things are worrying for the chip makers, because I mean, if you look at the numbers that TSM is producing from a chip perspective, and the numbers that are actually being consumed by the likes of NVIDIA, Microsoft, etc., there is still an upward trend, and I honestly do believe that this is here to stay. Naturally, there'll be bumps here and there, but AI is where the world is going at this point in time.
All right. Well, let's get into the commodity space. And BHP came out with an update for its quarterly activities, talking about improved production metrics, and also quite interesting that they're holding on to positive prospects that might come from the Chinese stimulus package. But what was quite interesting, Shaun, I mean, we've seen the Resources 10 complex up at 3.5% today, but BHP's share price was actually down over 2% the last time I checked. What did you take out of that update?
So it's a bit of a mixed bag, right? I would like to zone into China. So
Yeah.
the stimulus package would have a knock-on effect on commodity producers if that Chinese economy opens up. I do think from a BHP perspective, share price perspective, we are still taking stock of what's happening with regards to China and the stimulus plan. As much as there is all the positive news and words coming out of China, we still need to see everything come into effect and implementation of the stimulus package before we can see maybe let's consider it a rally from a commodities company's perspective.
But do you also think that, I mean, the magnitude of the rally in commodities will actually be that much, considering that the stimulus package is really directed at consumption?
100%. I think that the rally might be significant because once the Chinese economy starts consuming, there should be a knock-on effect in production and the need for industrial goods, commodities, etc. So that will help out companies such as BHP. And looking back at China, they have been in a bit of a slump for a couple of years now post COVID. So once they get, their things right, we're probably seeing positivity. And let's not forget that China is the second biggest economy in the world. So you also have to take that into consideration from a consumption perspective.
Well, talking about consumption, of course, a lot of things that we consume are in packaging. Packaging company Mondi, it came out with its third quarter trading update. Things not looking so good. Their core profit lower than the previous quarter. CEO saying that trading conditions remain muted. Of course, that share slumping almost 6%. A sour trading statement there.
Yeah, that was a bit of a tough pill to swallow, especially if we look around, everyone is doing quite well. But I think, what's really affecting them is a lot of maintenance shutdowns. And I see that, the price of paper has also increased, which generally should, help out the company. However, we're also living in a space where, consumers their budgets have been tight. So, you see people, let's go from a marginal utility perspective, divert their funds to different, different resources, and also living in a green world, right? So I would assume that the need for paper over time is also decreasing. So that would affect a company like Mondi PLC.
All right. Well, let's get into your stock pick for today, Shaun. What are you picking?
So my stock pick for the day, I'm going to move away from the general AI stance that everyone tends to like, and I will be choosing Goldman Sachs. The reason why I'm choosing Goldman Sachs, they've come out with really, really strong numbers, and they've actually been coming out with really positive numbers the last couple of quarters, despite what has been happening in the economy with high interest rates, high inflation, etc. And with where the economy is going currently, we potentially see that there's going to be an upbeat investor. So their source of funds outside of just interest rates or source of equity, etc., is about to take a turn for the better.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time and for your insights there, Shaun. That was Shaun Dendere from Trive Investments.